Hello,
I'm Karena.
and I'm Jamie.
Welcome to As Told by ADHD. This podcast is the brainchild of two best friends with ADHD who share a passion for learning and a knack for finding the most fascinating tidbits of knowledge.
Each week, we embark on a wild and hilarious journey of discovery as we dive headfirst into topics that pique our curiosity. From dark folklore to bizarre statistics, cultural ceremonies to famous dead people, we're here to entertain, educate, and tickle your funny bone.
This week on As Told by ADHD, we're going to talk about some strange deaths throughout history. So, if you're triggered by various forms of death or dying, then this is not the episode for you. You can come back next week. But this week, we're bringing you deaths.
And it's not going to be a part 1, part 2. We're going to do the Spitfire, which we love. So this is all in one episode. So I think we should get the ball rolling.
Okay, I'm down. Do you want to pick a number to see who goes first?
Yeah, 1.
What? I mean, I guess you could pick a number.
Evens
I'm
or
assuming
odds.
that.
Sorry.
I'm going to assume that was odd, so you go
Odds.
first because it was a 3. I was like, what?
Bro.
So you have
Yeah,
one
I
in
got
6
what you were
chance?
saying, but everybody else, this is how we work. I assumed you were going to say an odd number, and I understood
Yeah.
what you were saying.
Okay, so tell me about your first death.
Okay, so my first death happened in 1919, January 15th, 1919. So a little bit of a buildup. There was a massive steel tank that was owned by the Purity Distilling Company, held more than 2 million gallons of molasses.
Oh. Is this the Great Molasses Flood?
It is.
Oh my God. I wanted to do a story on this, but I didn't know what to put it under.
No, I think this is a strange way to die.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For sure. This distilling company was holding a bunch of molasses, 2.3 million to be exact, gallons of molasses. The tank had been really poorly constructed. It had leaked for years, but they didn't really do much to fix it, right? So the main issue is holding an obscene amount of molasses would require a really thick wall to hold it. The hoop stress, which is the outward pulling force that acts like in a circle, so almost like imagine like a concrete mixer is turning. There's a hoop stress. That means like there's a pressure that is building within that because it's creating a firmer mass, like as it's being mixed and stuff like that. So the hoop force was getting a little bit out of hand, so much so that the weight, which is measured in PSI or like air pressure essentially, was way too strong for this tank. The hoop stress was about 31,000 pounds per square inch on the walls, which was double the maximum safe threshold, which would have been about 18,000 per square inch. Oof. Boof, as Jamie says. The wall was about 50% thinner than it was supposed to be. The walls that were holding the molasses too was made of a brittle, low manganese steel. It's very brittle compared to what it needed to because it's super reactive to temperature. And the rivets were crap that were holding it together. So on this day, January 15th, it was a warmer winter day. They had been going through the freeze, okay? We're in Boston, Massachusetts, okay? It was going through the freeze. January 15th, it decided to spike in temperature, and it caused this massive tank to rupture. Witnesses described hearing a sound similar to a machine gun firing because the rivets of the tank were shooting from the structure. Also, the molasses that was spewing from it, there was so much molasses, it was estimated to be as high as 25 feet in some places as it was pouring out into Boston.
That's crazy. Okay, but what was the temperature of the molasses?
I don't know the temperature of the molasses. I think it was enough to stay like a consistent texture, but it was more so the fact that the temperature of the metal on the outside, which gets affected first, couldn't hold it.
Well, I was thinking, like,
So,
what was the temperature of the molasses? Because if it's hot, it's going to
oh, it's
travel
not
way
like super hot.
faster. If it's
It
cold,
was
then it's not going to really move that fast.
it
You know what I
was
mean?
moving. Well, I can tell you the speed because it was going about 25 to 30 miles per hour. It was going pretty fast.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
So imagine a
scary.
tsunami of molasses here.
I don't even like the smell of molasses that much. Like, I would
Yeah, I don't
not be
either.
having a great time.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't. Yeah, no. But this molasses is going everywhere. It's heavy enough still. It's not like fully melty enough to just kind of weave its way through the neighborhoods. It was still firm enough to rip buildings from their foundations. So people in those buildings get by or severely injured. Horses,
crazy.
because we're in
Oh,
1919,
I
gone.
remember that
All
part.
gone. Yeah. All of them
You're
are
a
swept away
horse
in
in
molasses.
Boston.
Yeah.
What do you do when this molasses? Are you tied up? Do you run? Like, what
A
do you
lot
do?
of them are tied up. They're holding on to carriages. They're pulling like wagons or trailers or something. Like, they're just they really could not escape fast enough. I think technically they could. I'm pretty sure some horses did survive.
I'm sure
Because when they get
there was
spooked,
some.
like their strength is unmatched. But like when their adrenaline's going. So I'm sure some were able to rip away and escape, but a lot of horses died in this incident. And of course, people were trapped. Rescue efforts were attempted, but it was obviously really hard to save people because molasses is really sticky and it clings to everything. So due to all of this, when it finally leveled out, and people could kind of make their way through to see what the damage was, 21 people drowned or suffered catastrophic injury because of the molasses. Imagine suffocating on molasses, taking your last breath on molasses.
Thank you for giving me another fear.
I feel like that's what this episode is going to be. Irrational fears.
There are some that I'm like, never want that to happen. Anyway. But like, how would you even like go about trying to save? Like, okay, imagine it happened today.
Right.
How, like, I guess you could use like a helicopter and have like people like, but can you even like swim up? Like, wow.
I think that there's actually chemicals that help break down substances like that. Because, like, I know that there's a bunch of things, and this is just from me working in journalism. Like, if I had to speak with first responders, if like a freak accident of some sort happens, they have a lot of different like chemical concoctions to handle a lot of different emergency situations.
Okay.
Like just on hand. Now it's super unbelievably expensive. You're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars for like this stuff, but they have it because you literally don't know what could happen. And I think a good thing about history, a good thing about history is hopefully you learn and prepare so something like that doesn't happen again. So I'm pretty sure they could have figured out something to like severely dilute the molasses so they could go in to save people. But do you want to know what the eerie part is about this story?
Was it not the horses dying and the 21 people dying?
I mean, eerie, I think eerie is like aftermath creepiness. That's what I usually think of like eerie. Like if you go into a building then you know people died in, it just, there's like an eerie feeling because of the, stuff like that. That's how I envision that word. Could be wrong, could be completely illiterate, but decades later, they said that they can still smell molasses on hot summer days.
No.
So they're just like constantly being reminded.
No, thank you.
And I wonder if like the families got reparations because I know that like women were working, but like men were usually like the main breadwinners. So like, I wonder if they got reparations.
Who would pay out? The molasses company? And did they even have enough money?
They would have to they decided to hold 2.3 million gallons of molasses.
So much molasses.
So much molasses, dude.
Okay, comment below if you eat molasses, because I don't know anybody who does. The only time I ever use molasses is if I'm using brown sugar. And that's it.
Yep.
literally the
literally
only
it.
time.
Yep. That's it. Done.
Oof.
Yeah, boof. Big boof. 2.3 million gallons is
That's good.
crazy. A tsunami of molasses.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that one back.
Let's not go to Boston.
I mean, we can go to
might just walk
Boston,
through the
but,
streets and then we're like, do you smell it? I
It's-
smell it.
if I ever go to Boston and I smell molasses, I'm not gonna be okay. I'm gonna be like, I gotta go.
We're just going to be like, flight, let's go. Let's rebook this flight. Rental car, gone. So.
Okay, you ready for my first one?
I'm ready.
Now, this one is very whimsical in a way. It's one of my funnier deaths on this list.
Okay.
So, there's a man.
Can I sing the song? Wait, can I sing the song, please?
We're gonna have to cut it out, but...
And we're good. It was only like half
Okay.
a second. We're good.
So, I'm gonna tell you about a man named Aeschylus. Now, who was he? He was born in Greece around 500 BCE, and he was from a military family, and he had two brothers who were war heroes, but like kind of everybody was a military family in this time period, because like Greece was constantly at
True.
war, so
True.
everybody was a military family then.
Yeah.
He actually fought in the Battle of Marathon against the Persians. But around 499 BCE, before the war, he started writing plays, and he became known as the father of Greek tragedy.
I know this man.
I know you know this man.
And you guys are in for a ride. Okay? If you guys are not big history people, you should try reading it every now and again because you'll find out stuff like this.
Yes.
So go ahead.
So this guy, throughout his life, it's thought that he might have written around 90 plays in his life. Only 7 survive today, which is why we believe it was 90. But he kind of laid the groundwork for how theater is known today in several different ways, which like I can get into that in another episode if you want. But anyway, so how would you, I know you already know the answer to this question, but if you didn't, how would you think the father of tragedy would die? Do you think it would be tragic?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, because of like playwrights and stuff like that, and knowing that mental health is not really something that's seen as curable, him being, you know, who he was, I would think it'd be like a self-exit thing.
It was not. It was actually one of the most cartoonish deaths I've ever heard of in my life. So, Aeschylus died of a falling tortoise. Yes, a falling tortoise. So, at some point in his life, he made his way to Sicily, Italy, right? And he would spend majority of his time outside. And the reason is the legend says there was an oracle that told him he would die by something falling on him. Well, she was right. If that happened, she was right. But he was like, you know what? I'm going to stay in like open fields. I'm not going to stay inside. I'm not going to be under trees. I'm just going to be in open fields. And I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to live really long. Well, he was bald. And that's a big part of this story. So there's this thing that large birds do, right? So they'll pick up their prey and they'll drop it, especially tortoises. So they'll pick up a tortoise and they'll fly really high in the air. They'll find a nice, good rock, nice pointy rock, and drop the tortoise on it to crack the shell so they can eat their prey, right? Well, this large bird, it's said to be an eagle, but there are some people who think it might have been some type of vulture. It must have mistaken Aeschylus's head with a rock because he was bald, like I said, and it dropped from the sky and he died of blunt force trauma to the head from a tortoise falling on him.
And thus hats were born. I'm just kidding.
There were hats before this.
I
Because they
just
were
think,
helmets,
like,
you know?
No, I know. I was just messing. I'm just messing.
I just think
thus
it's
hard
so-
hats were born.
Okay, like, I want to go back in time and talk to that oracle and be like, hey, how did you know
How
that?
did you know? Exactly. How did you know?
Or is this just a story that's been told? It's like, oh, somebody told him that something's going to fall on him, and that's why he spent all of his time outside.
But since he was a storyteller, don't you think that he would have told? Or maybe he had a dream that somebody came up to him.
Or maybe he
Maybe
just
that was
liked
the
fresh
definition.
air and somebody just was like, why does he spend all of his time outside? And then he died that way, and they're like, that must be why. I don't know. So
Back
that was
when
my
oracles
first
were
one.
popping.
Oracles were popping.
I
500
can't
BCE.
believe that man's head was shining brighter than my lip gloss.
Yes.
Okay, so my next one is a story of a king.
Okay.
King Alexander I of Greece. He was born in 1893 and became the king of Greece in 1917 during a period where it was very intense. Okay, we're going into like World War I era. Okay, there was real bad political stuffs going on during this times. Okay, so Greece at this time was deeply divided over whether to support the Allies or remain completely neutral, and Alexander's father, who was Constantine the First of Greece, was forced to exile due to political pressure, and Alexander was placed on the throne instead. So the incident, he was ruling, he was trying to handle this war and all of this good stuff. At the royal estate near Athens, Greece, Alexander was taking a walk through the gardens with his dog, said to be a German shepherd. The royal grounds contained several animals, including monkeys, that were being kept by the staff members. Accounts agree that Alexander's dog became involved in a altercation, I guess, a fight. They did not like each other. Got in a fight with one of the monkeys. Alexander attempted to separate them, but some dogs, once they it's kind of hard to separate them, but he was trying to get them separated. Other monkeys were just like, not my friend, and started hopping on. So he was like trying to get his dog, also kind of trying to save the monkey. Other monkeys were attacking him. It was a whole struggle thing. Alexander was bitten several times by the monkeys, particularly on his legs and his hands. And at first, after he broke the dogs up and stuff like that, at first the wounds did not look like it was going to be anything super crazy. Yet, yes, it broke skin, it was bleeding a little bit, but they didn't think anything too much of it. But this was also a long time before antibiotics and penicillin became available for medical use. So, even a tiny animal bite could become extremely dangerous because of bacteria and it going into the bloodstream and sepsis. So, over the following days, unfortunately, Alexander's condition worsened a lot because he got real sick from all of these bites from these monkeys. They became extremely infected, and he developed a severe sepsis infection. The doctors considered cutting off his legs and his hands and his arms, but he was becoming so weak that they were just like, there's really, he'll die in this process. His fever was constant. It did not, he kept teetering the point of his body shutting down. His fever stayed so high, so consistently. And the infection, obviously, over time, left untreated, spread way too far throughout his body. Nearly 3 weeks, this man was suffering from this infection. He survived for 3 weeks while this bacterial infection was literally eating away at his body. The physicians tried tons of treatments, that were available at the time, but there was literally nothing they could do. And on October 25th, 1920, Alexander died at the age of 27.
Oof.
Yeah. So what are they going to do?
What about the dog? The dog? Did you say
The
what happened?
dog's chilling. Dog stay alive. He was good.
Wow.
I don't know if he died of a broken heart afterwards, because I know that's a thing with dogs. But yeah.
Sorry, I was looking at Fred. Would you be sad if I died? Would you be really sad if I died? You can't die either, okay? So we gotta stay alive the whole time together. Sorry, I had to make sure he understood that.
No, you're good. Yeah. But Constantine, his father, was casted out, right? So who was going to succeed the throne? There was extreme political consequences. It was really bad. It was huge. The succession crisis in Greece caused, I guess, opportunity for other countries. They were trying to work towards taking over Greece because they knew they didn't have a ruler. So Greece obviously had to work quickly. So the government eventually held a referendum that allowed his exiled father, Constantine I, to return to the throne. But it didn't end up working out too well. So, because there was conflict with Turkey, and it's a whole thing. World War I. We know, or hopefully, because I don't mind telling those stories. So, but that's another day. But dying from a monkey bite. Several. It was actually a gang of monkeys. So.
Yeah, I could see that easily happening. Even today.
It's like,
I mean, well,
true.
It wouldn't be as bad unless they are carrying some unknown disease that we don't know about just yet.
And you don't have immediate access, you know?
Right.
If you don't have immediate access to the medicine, then you could still easily,
Right.
You know?
Well, let me tell you about somebody else who didn't have access to any type of antibiotic or anything that would probably have saved him, but didn't. Okay, this man that I'm about to tell you about, he lived a life, and I would love to go deeper in on everything he did. I'm going to give a little brief overview of him in general to kind of paint a picture of who this guy was, because it's going to tell you what you need to know about why he died the way he did, because it's one of the most nonsensical deaths that didn't have to happen, and he caused it to himself. Anyway, it was around 1547. A man named Tycho Brahe was born to Danish nobles, right? But his uncle kidnapped him. And he was like, my son now. Why? Couldn't tell you. Just did. And his family was like, okay, I guess. Whatever. They just didn't try to get him back, I guess. I don't know. I would love to go deeper into it, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna put a pin in that for later.
I'm so curious, though. We have to figure out a topic that fits in.
Yeah. Okay. So, from a really young age, he knew that he wanted to study astronomy because he saw a solar eclipse. Ooh, he was looking up at the sun when you shouldn't. Don't look at the sun. Friends, don't look at the sun. Stop it. Anyway, but he looked at the sun as the eclipse happened, and he was like, wow, that was crazy. I want to know why that happened. So he goes to college, and he's having a great time until one day he gets into a fight with another student about a mathematical formula. And they decided, we're going to settle this with swords. He gets his nose chopped off. Just like, ting, like, tung, like gone, right? Anyway, so he's so rich, right? He gets a prosthetic, obviously, and it's gold and silver. And I think later it was tested and it had bronze in it as well. I don't know the exact composition of his nose, but he was rich. He could do it. So he ended up making some really, really big waves in the astronomical community. And everybody wanted him to work for them. Everybody. There were countries all around Europe that were like, come here, we want you to come work here. But the king of Denmark at the time was actually like, hey, you could have this island and you could build a little fortress if you want to, and you could do astronomy all the time, and I'll pay for it. So that's what he did, because he's like, I'll stay in my home country and let the king pay for me to have basically a castle that I can look at the stars all the time. And he ended up doing such a good job. And all of this happened before the telescope was built, mind you, before it was even invented. And he was writing so many papers and he just wanted them published. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to build a paper mill. But not only a paper mill, I'm going to build a printing press so I could publish my papers. So on the island, he builds a paper mill, so he constantly has paper. He builds a printing press, publishes all of his findings, I guess. So, something else about him, he loved to party. He was a party guy. He loved it. Tycho ended up hiring a little person named Jep to be a court jester.
My name Jep. Sorry.
Yeah, but he was a court jester and he was just a little guy. And for some reason, Tycho believed that this little person, Jep, was clairvoyant.
Oh.
Apparently, Jep kept predicting things, but after looking at the list of things he predicted, very easily predictable. It was just pattern recognition. He predicted when the flu would break out in the in the court. He would predict when it was gonna rain. It was dumb stuff, right?
It's like the Mean Girls. It's 30% chance that it's already raining.
Okay. Tycho also had a pet elk who died after getting drunk and falling down the stairs, which I thought was fitting for this episode because the elk got drunk and died after falling down the stairs.
You can end the story right there.
I could.
Strange deaths.
But I'm not. But I'm not. So, eventually, there was a new king on the throne, and he didn't like him. He did not like Tycho. He was like, get out of here. I don't like you. So, Tycho goes to Prague, and he's having a great time partying with the elites, doing great stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was one party, he was drinking so much. He kept drinking and he kept drinking, and he had to go to the bathroom really bad. But he's like, it's so rude for me to just get up and go to the bathroom. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to talk and I'm going to party. I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to drink more, in fact. He ended up going home that night, didn't use the bathroom before he left. He ended up going home and his bladder burst because he held it way too long. Which, also, I didn't even know, I thought you would pee yourself before your bladder would burst.
I thought so too, but at the same time.
I guess not. I don't know. Anyway, so he ended up dying of an infection from his bladder bursting. Some people do think he was murdered because there were multiple people who might have wanted him dead at this time. Again, I want to go back and do a story on this guy's life because it is a soap opera. But anyway, people think he was murdered, but later I think they excavated him to test to see if he, to do a DNA test to see if there was, any poison. They found mercury, and they were like, oh my god, he was poisoned. But it was, a normal amount of mercury that the human body has. So they were like, actually, maybe he wasn't. We don't know. So I think it was his bladder bursting. So
Interesting.
Anyway, what'd you think about it? Would you ever let it get to that point?
Now, I went on a field trip with my son to an aquarium that was hours away from here, and we stopped and I went to the bathroom, but mine comes in first because I drank so much water that
She's a
I could
hydrated
be
queen.
And it comes when I have to pee at all that I drank prior because it just kind of just goes through. And we had went to the bathroom. I was like, okay, I'm good until we get there and get situated, and I'll probably have to use the bathroom again because we were in the car for hours. I get there, and of course, everything takes forever to get everybody gathered for the field trip. I literally was in such physical pain because I was trying to hold it until the tour started because I knew there would be like a bathroom like kind of around where you would start. I literally was in so much pain. Also, how do you, like, if he held it, right? How? Because it hurts so bad. It sends,
But he
like,
was
shots
also
of
so
electricity
drunk.
to your fingers, but, like, something should be able to sober you. Like, my toes felt like there was
Right.
electricity. It hurt my whole body. And when I peed, I was in pain like a UTI afterwards for, like, a solid 30 minutes.
Yeah, I've been in that position before. But also, like, when you're drunk, you don't really feel pain the way you would when you're sober. You know what I mean?
But you're
Have you ever been,
but
like,
you're also
that drunk?
relaxed. And that's why too.
But, okay, I firmly believe in this. If you start drinking at the beginning of the night and you hold your pee for as long as you can go hours and hours and hours without having to pee. But the first time you pee, you have to pee constantly after.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, when you're drinking, yeah, that's
I don't know
true.
what the science is behind that. I would love to
don't-
talk to somebody who knows the science behind that, but that's my experience, and I know that that's other people's experience, so maybe
That's
he
my
just,
experience, too.
because he hadn't gone to pee, he was like, I can hold it, it's fine. I don't know. Crazy times.
Let us know if you guys know any theories behind it or have done any research on it. We haven't, but let us know down in the comments because, like, that would be really interesting to figure out. Okay, so my next one involves a man named Hans Steininger, the man with the long beard. Hans Steininger lived during the 16th century and served as the mayor of a town of Braunau am Inn. This is now current time Austria, okay? He was well known not just as like a political leader, but because of his beard. He had a long, luscious, beautiful beard, right? It was about 4.5 feet long. And for the meter folks, it's about 1.4 meters. So, and this is historically. So this is in text. But because working men, 16th century, having such a long beard would be impractical with work and stuff like that, he would usually keep it folded and tucked into a pouch or like inside of his clothing most of the time. But I'm happy we did a story prior to this. You'll see where I'm going. But on September 28th, 1567, a fire broke out in Braunau. Fires were one of the greatest dangers in towns in the 1500s. Why? Because you couldn't put them out quick. Because all you had was the family special bucket.
The bucket!
And everybody had to gather around. And everybody had to gather around and get in a line and find the quickest way of source of water and fill up their buckets and pass them as fast as possible, spilling majority of the water. It took way too long. Fires would get out of hand way too quickly. The most special bucket was not really that effective. If you know, you know. Insert picture here. So also, the buildings, obviously, were constructed mostly of wood. The streets were narrow. Firefighting, like, it was a catastrophe with the whole line and stuff like that. And usually, before, like, the assembly line of water and special buckets formed, the families would focus more on not putting out the fire, but making sure they get, like, all of their belongings and get people out and stuff like that, like out of their house, and then the families in the houses or buildings next to them would focus on getting them out because they're just like, this is a lost cause. So they're losing manpower with the assembly line because everybody's trying to save themselves and their things too. So, according to some contemporary accounts, Steininger became involved in the emergency response. And during the haste and the craziness and everybody saving themselves and people getting those family buckets and whatever, his beard apparently became loose from his suit or his pouch as he was hurrying, stepped on his beard. Tug of that quick reaction caused him to lose his balance and fall, and he broke his neck, falling down a staircase, and died. He died trying to save people, but in a very freak accident.
Yeah. Like, he didn't die from the fire. He died from something completely unrelated.
Yeah, his own beard.
This is why Edna Mode said no capes.
No capes. And you don't, because like literally stuff like that, like people, like even when I wear like long pants or skirts to work, I still have to like tug them up to a certain length and stuff because I walk really, really, really fast, and I have had numerous occasions where I've stepped on my own skirt or pants and have stumbled forward like several times. So that's why I think this is incredibly plausible. But Steininger was obviously a documented historical icon in a sense. His beard was very much talked about and theorized after his death. And apparently parts of the beard were preserved. Like people took pieces of his beard for historical reasons. So I thought that was interesting.
It feels disrespectful almost, because like he clearly had some type of pride in his beard, but then like they're like, you know what, we're gonna chop it off.
But they're like, we love him so much, we want to keep a piece of him, and they literally took a piece of him. So.
But what if the beard that is like in the museum now, what if it's the piece he stepped on and it pulled out?
That's so bad juju.
Bad juju.
That's bad juju. That's bad energy. That's tragic energy. You don't want that around you. Sage. Sage it all. But yeah, that is the story of that.
Side note, in high school, I used to have the longest hair. Like, it was like past my butt. So anytime that I would sit down like on a toilet or a chair, I would have to like do this. And it was like really inconvenient. And I remember there were several times that I'd have it behind me and I'd either sit on it or like, I remember I've always had long hair now that I'm thinking about it. Because I remember in preschool, my hair was so long, it was like down to my feet, but I was so incredibly short. So it wasn't, I don't know. And I would like look up at the sky to like look at the clouds when I was walking. And there would be like boys who had crushes on me who would step on my hair. Yeah. Yeah. And I remember who you are if you're watching this.
Jerks. Don't do that. My hair is so curly, it does not gain length like that.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the day it at least comes down to my boobs. So.
But I do remember when I got it cut, I had like an existential crisis after like my second year of college. I cut it to here. And then I would start doing this every time I would sit down, and I'd be like, and then it would go back and I would be like, that's a weird feeling. But yeah.
Yeah, when I met her, her hair was so long, and her hair ponytail would like naturally kind of go off to a side a little bit too, so it would always be around her shoulder. If she like turned, the hair would flip around, and it was just Rapunzel ponytail in the front.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, beautiful hair.
Thanks.
Gorgeous. Okay,
Yeah.
Next.
Okay, I want to tell you about this man named Basil Brown. And yes, I'm saying Basil as his name because he's British.
Oh.
And that's how they pronounce Basil. So, Basil Brown. He was born in 1888 to a farming family. And early on, he learned that he had a passion for astronomy and archaeology, right?
Oh.
So at some point, his parents died and he inherited the farm. And he was like, I don't want to be a farmer. So he sells the farm and he ends up publishing an astronomy book. And he's fully self-taught, by the way, like on every front, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes on to conduct one of Britain's most important excavations. And it can now be found in the British Museum. And it doesn't even like fully have his name on it. Well, the last I heard, it didn't have his name on it. But he was the one that found it, but they ended up being like, oop, it just popped out of nowhere. It's ours now. Anyway, it's because he came from like lower like class. So they were like, he didn't go to college. He's not a professional, so he doesn't count. It's basically the whole deal, right? Later in his life, he was reported to be a health food enthusiast. I tried to find the source of this. I don't know where this came from, but everybody seems to say he was a health food enthusiast. And he apparently loved carrots. Like a lot. Like a lot. So much so that he believed it was the key to health. So he started drinking carrot juice, right? He consumed 10 gallons of carrot juice in 10 days. It's a gallon a day.
Wow.
And carrots contain vitamin A.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what happens when you have too much vitamin A?
I don't. Please tell me. Tell me now.
It can cause some serious damage. So, what happens when you overdose on vitamin A? First, you get kind of an acute toxicity. You'll probably experience severe headaches, dizziness, nausea, vomiting, maybe blurred vision, maybe irritability, maybe drowsiness, kind of an altered mental state. When it starts to get more severe, your skin and hair become really dry. Your skin can start peeling. You'll start cracking in the corners of your mouth. You have increased sun sensitivity and hair loss. You have bone and joint pain. You have increased pressure in the skull, and you can even get liver damage. So that's what happens when you start to overdose on vitamin A.
Oof.
Yeah, pretty nasty. And I'm not sure what symptoms he experienced. There was no documented symptoms that I found. But the symptoms I listed is just what can happen, what you can experience if you overdose on vitamin A. So, it was reported that his skin turned a yellowish orange.
I did know that because if you eat
Mhm.
carrots a lot, your hands will turn orange. Like this
Mhm.
pinkness will turn orange. I did know that.
Right. But it was like his whole body.
Yeah. Oompa loompa.
And then he had severe liver damage due to vitamin A toxicity, and he died of liver failure because he drank way too much carrot juice. So,
Wow.
kids, eat your vegetables. Don't eat too much.
Yeah, and even now, my mom, she does some health counseling and stuff like that, especially to like older women who are going through menopause because your body starts producing a lot of things that you really, really need. And even her, who is a health nut, does not take supplements every single day. Because yes, your body can still produce like minimal amounts unless there's like some condition you have where your body completely doesn't, and then you have to. But she just helps her body produce the amount it needs rather than completely replacing the daily release with something that is artificially made. So she's like, hey, take your B12, but on the bottle it says every day. No, take it every 2 days And if you're really healthy and young, take it once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Because it messes your body up, dude.
Right.
Mm.
But yeah, that was Basil
Carrot
Brown. He lived a fantastic life. He did a lot of great things, but he overestimated the health benefits of carrots.
Yeah, they are extremely healthy, but
don't overdo it. Don't overdo anything.
yeah.
Everything in moderation.
Right. Everything is healthy in moderation, or can be healthy and okay with your body in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
So, my next one involves a fashionista.
Ooh, a
Yes, fashionista. Franz Reichelt. Reichelt was an Australian-born tailor living in Paris in the early 1900s. He became obsessed with creating a wearable parachute.
Okay. Okay, by wearable parachute, do you mean like a normal sized parachute that you're just wearing, like clothes made out of parachute, or like a little tiny parachute that you have on all the time? Like what's the vibe?
Okay, I'm gonna get to it. Because
Okay.
it's gonna blow your mind, okay?
Okay.
The wearable parachute in total would allow aviators to escape from aircrafts and emergencies. And at the time, this was important to him, and he wanted to do something revolutionary because aviation was newer, right? Reliable parachutes weren't like super widely used by pilots yet. So after conducting some small scale tests, Reichelt became convinced that his design would work. And that design is clothing that when ejected, like or falling, would burst off almost in a sense and create a parachute. There would be straps underneath that you would have to put on and secure and stuff like that, but the clothing itself would turn into a parachute.
Okay.
So he requested permission from authorities to conduct a demonstration from the first platform of the Eiffel Tower. He went up about 187 feet. It's about 57 meters above ground. Officials thought, and they gave permission for this, because they thought he would test the device using a dummy, right?
Okay.
But on February 4th, 1912, a crowd gathered beneath the Eiffel Tower. Journalists, photographers, spectators, everybody came out of the restaurants, what's happening. They see a man go out onto this ledge, and they were like, what is he doing? Nobody knew that Reichelt had decided that he would personally perform the test. So despite friends and onlookers being like, what are you doing? You're crazy. Stop. Don't do this. Don't do this. You don't know if it'll work. He climbed onto the platform wearing the parachute suit, and there's footage of this. Contemporary film footage shows him hesitating for several seconds at the edge, and then he jumped. The parachute completely failed to deploy, and instead of slowing his descent, the suit collapsed around him. He was frantic, and he fell and died instantly upon impact.
Oof.
And it was caught on
Wow.
film, like I said earlier.
That's the
It
crazy
survives to
part.
this day. Am I going to put it in this? No. But it survives today.
Oof. Did you watch it?
It's so eerie because it's on like older film, it's very, yeah.
Oof.
It's kind of, it looks like it should be in a movie, but also that it's real.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
it gave me the same feeling of like Wizard of Oz when they say that when somebody themselves in the background and you see them like dangling.
I don't
It gave
remember
that feeling.
Well, let me lighten the mood with my next one.
Yeah, please. Wait, lighten the mood. This is strange.
Okay, so have you ever played Sims?
Yeah, of course.
You know, in Sims, there's a million different ways that your Sim can die, right? One of which is laughing to death. The next person I'm talking about laughed himself to death. His name is Chrysippus. And for all my history nerds out there, you might be like, that's crazy. That guy laughed himself to death? Let me tell you about him. So, he was born in 280 BCE in the city of Soli, which I don't think is named that anymore. And I also think it's a part of Turkey now. I don't know what the name is now, but it's a part of Turkey now. But it was part of Greece at the time. Okay. He ended up going to Athens to train to be a long distance runner. He's like, I'm going to run, which like he wasn't passionate about. What he was passionate about was philosophy. Hard left turn. So he started pursuing that instead. And eventually he became one of the most important philosophers in Greece and is considered the second founder of Stoicism. And you're thinking, Stoicism, stoic. When someone's stoic, they're usually somber. You know what I mean? Well, Stoicism taught you that you can't control what happens, but you can control how you react to it. So it's not what we see Stoicism as today, but it is in the same vein of basically controlling your emotions. And Stoicism has 4 virtues. There's wisdoms, so making judgments rationally. There's courage, which having the mental and moral strength to face adversity and still do what's right. Justice, treating others fairly and with kindness. And temperance, so exercising self-discipline and self-restraint, right? So those are the 4 virtues of Stoicism. He went around teaching that. Let's talk about how he died. You wouldn't think that a man who teaches Stoicism around Greece would die laughing, but he did.
Yeah, I'm so curious.
So there's a couple different stories of how exactly this happened, but everybody agrees what caused his death. So I think he came across this donkey eating figs. Some say that the figs were his on his property. Some say that he was just walking down the road and saw a donkey eating figs. And he starts laughing at this donkey. And he turns to a woman. Some say this woman was with him. Some say this woman was the owner of the donkey. But he turns to this woman and says, now give the donkey a drink of pure wine to wash down the figs. And he starts laughing so hard at his own joke. And he's laughing and he's laughing and he's laughing. And he either died of cardiac arrest or asphyxiation because he was laughing so hard at his own joke. Your face. It's not even that funny of a joke.
So he's cocky.
Probably.
Was.
Or, okay, another thought that came to my mind is, what if he was sleep deprived? Because, like, we laugh at the dumbest stuff when you're sleep deprived.
Yeah, you do get really delirious, but I mean, like, I've been to the point that I've had trouble breathing, laughing-wise. I'm sure most of us have been there. But your body, like, maybe he was drunk.
Maybe.
Like the other guy.
Maybe he's like, I gotta give this donkey some wine. But he's like, maybe he was drinking with the woman and was like, give him some wine. You gotta give that donkey some wine. And maybe she was about to, and he just keeled over and he died because he was laughing so hard. I don't know.
Wow. Do you know how old he was when this happened?
I didn't get his age. He wasn't young. Like,
that's crazy
for the standards then. Like,
No,
it would be
yeah.
young for our standards today, but for
Yeah.
their standards back then,
Yeah.
I think he wasn't young.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, but it's really funny.
No, that's wild. Like,
To
you
laugh
literally
at
are laughing, like, at your own, like,
bad joke. Very bad
terrible joke. There's no documentation if the woman was laughing too? Or was she
No.
just staring at him?
I like to think she was just like, that was not funny.
She's like,
And she's just like,
wow.
But I'm glad he got a laugh, and with all his stoicism.
Speaking of weird things, like this whole episode, to die from, you said dying from laughing. How about dying from dancing?
Is this the dancing plague?
Dancing plague of 1518, baby.
Oh my god. Love a good dancing plague.
Love a good dancing plague.
I have so many questions.
Yeah, me too. I have some theories, so we'll get to those too. But in the city of Strasbourg, which at the time was a part of the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, according to records, a woman known as Frau Tofik stepped into the street and began dancing. There was no music, it was no festival, there was no like blah, blah, blah. There wasn't somebody who was chefing it up, making a beat, and she was just like, ooh, 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 right? There was nothing.
Chefing it up, making a beat, ooh, ooh, ooh.
But she was dancing. And something didn't, like, I think something caused it, like the ooh, 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 you know? Like, I've done that, so.
I mean, maybe I don't know about you, but when I eat really good food, I dance. It's involuntary. I have zero control over it.
Beats.
I'm just like,
Me and my little boy, we hear beats. We hear beats and everything, and so we'll just sit there and like say it back, and then we'll both start dancing.
Nice.
It's just our thing, but like, yeah, hit a little ooh, 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 right? And so she was dancing for hours through the night, danced the next day and the next. And within a week, dozens of people joined her. Within a month.
Was she eating?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I think that's why they died.
Somebody threw a bread at her and she's like,
I don't know if she's dancing just, you know, like who knows, right? But there were like possibly hundreds of people dancing with her with no music. Like hundreds of people. Started with one person, hundreds of people dancing. The weird part is that apparently none of these people could stop. They people's were dancing even though their feet were bleeding. They would collapse, their body would shut down from exhaustion, and then as soon as they recovered from collapsing, they would just like get up and start dancing again.
That's crazy.
Isn't that so weird?
Was it everybody in the town, or was it just like...
It was everybody in the town, and then they were like kind of just like word was spreading and people were coming to dance. No.
Was there a gas leak somewhere?
So there's a couple theories that involve like something like along those lines, but it was also recorded that, of course, participants, because they were just doing the most, suffered heart attacks, strokes, and dehydration. All things that would kill them, right?
Yeah.
The city authorities literally were trying to get them to stop, and they couldn't. They were completely baffled. But
I
rather
would be
than like
too.
trying to like force them to like physically force them to stop, the officials concluded that those who were like infected with the dance just needed to dance the illness out of their systems.
I mean, it's like sweating a fever out, I guess.
So they hired musicians.
Okay.
They constructed platforms where the dancers could continue like moving. So they're creating different levels. So the more people just had more space. And it obviously didn't help the situation. It got like a lot worse. So, a saint who was connected to this story, whose name is Saint Vitus, he had a belief in involuntary movements and dancing disorders. Where that came from, I have no idea. But religious rituals were performed to try to get them to stop. And over time, apparently the rituals worked. and the outbreak stopped.
That's crazy.
Outbreak illness, but like a lot of people
Yeah.
died. We don't have an exact number, but there were days and days of removing bodies. We'll say that.
Oof.
A span
Oh,
of body
gosh.
removal.
I mean, there's worse ways to go.
I mean, there is, but I just want to know what was going through their brains. So, theories.
Okay.
Theory 1. Most historians favor this theory. It was a
Okay.
form of mass psychosis.
Uh-huh.
They think, or mass hysteria also. The people were living in this town of Strasbourg were living a very difficult time. There were famines, there was disease outbreaks. Economically, they weren't doing well. Everybody was really stressed, and many people literally believed that supernatural forces or saints could inflict punishment through illness, and dancing was like an illness. Now, what I think about, like what I know about modern body reactions is that when you are stressed, and you know this too, you have to release your nervous system, because if it's built up, you can, like, God knows what could happen. So a lot of therapists try to help people release all of the energy and stress and hormones that are pent up that's affecting your nervous system, so that you can get all of that out, essentially. And I feel like people were like feeling good and better because they were like just getting everything out of their system, like a massive workout, but then like possibly from the heat or not eating or whatever, they could have developed like a
Uh-huh.
hysteria of sorts.
Yeah.
But it's said that when people are put under extreme psychological stress, people can develop similar symptoms without like a physical disease being present, like groups of people. There's been studies on it. Modern examples I read included fainting outbreaks in schools and stuff like that. Like your brain is just like, you need to do that now. The theory is that Frau, the woman who first started dancing, may have experienced a psychological episode. And since she lived in a society that was very superstitious and they feared a lot of supernatural things, other people saw her dancing. She was just like, she's doing something. Maybe it's the, gods or whatever. I need to do that. And they did that too out of fear. Another theory is ergot, which is a fungus that grows on rye grain. Ergot contains chemicals related to substances that affect the nervous system, and historians suggested that contaminated bread caused hallucinations and uncontrollable movements.
It was the
But
food.
It was the food.
She was like,
But
this tastes so good. Oh, yeah. Get it. Get
Ooh,
it. Get it. Get it.
yeah, bread. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So the problem is, because there's a issue with like that theory. Ergot poisoning usually causes convulsions, severe pain, hallucinations, and gangrene. So it doesn't
Interesting.
typically cause people to dance or like feel like they have to move, you know? I honestly kind of attribute the movements of dancing to like somebody who is on an extreme drug.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I like imagine. But yeah, it said ergots like now after they like studied this theory and stuff like that, they're like, I don't know if that's really plausible, but it is still a
Right.
theory. So they think it's more so it could have been like mass hysteria because of everything that they were
Mm-hmm.
going through. But yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people died from dancing.
Honestly, it sounds like maybe like some natural gases started leaking into the town somehow.
Could
Because, like, I know
have.
natural gases can mess you up.
Yeah, they can. Yeah,
Do you want to hear my last one?
I do.
Okay. I
Please.
want to. I want to place a trigger warning for anybody who gets triggered by severed heads, because that is happening in this story. But there is some irony that comes from it. So if you want to hear it, listen to it. If you can't handle severed heads, you can skip this one. Okay. So I want to talk about Sigurd the Mighty. So Sigurd the Mighty was alive in the mid to late 800s-ish, and he was a Norwegian Viking, okay? He was the second Jarl of Orkney, at the time part of Norway, but now it's a part of modern-day Scotland. Okay, he was attempting to seize more land from Scotland, okay? And there was a Pictish nobleman / like, it's called like a Mormar? I don't know how to say it, but that's like basically a medieval ruler, and it translates to like great steward or high bailiff. So like he's ruling the people, the military, like all that kind of stuff, right? And fun fact, Pictish people were named, it was like a nickname given by the Romans, and it was late Latin word Picti, which directly translate to the painted ones or the tattooed people. So imagine like Norse and Scottish men tattooed, tatted up. So this man's name was Mael Brekte the Bucktooth.
Oh, okay.
And he he was stop. He was the Mormar of this land that Sigurd wanted to seize, right? About Male the Bucktoothed, his teeth stuck kind of straight out, and they're not straight like ours. They were a little pointy.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway, so Sigurd and Mael, the Bucktoothed, get together and they met to negotiate. And back then, negotiations wasn't like, hey, you give me this much land and I'll give you this. It was, how many men are we sending into this battle? So they agreed that each group would bring 40 men. But Sigurd's a dirty, dirty dog. He brought 80. He brought 80 men, and he was conniving, and he massacred all of them and took the land, and he severed Mael Brichte's, the Bucktooth's, head. And he hung it on his saddle to show everybody, don't mess with me because I will win. Right? Well, in the most poetic justice I've ever heard of, Mael, the Bucktoothed, his teeth scratched the leg of Sigurd as he was riding. And people like exaggerate it and say it was a bite. It was just because his teeth were sharp and poking out. It cut his leg. And he'd been dead a while when this happened. You can imagine the infection that came along with that. And Sigurd died a very painful death.
Oh.
And everyone thought it was because he was so conniving. The Norse gods were angry with him because he did it in a dishonest way. So, what do you think?
There was probably a group of people out there who worshipped Mr. Bucktooth.
Maybe.
It's like, even in death, he's a warrior.
Honestly, yes. I did watch a video that was like, he never really lost a battle because even after he was dead, he killed the person, or he got revenge on the person that killed him. So,
wow.
I thought that one was pretty ironic.
That was ironic in a good way, especially when somebody who is conniving gets their
comeuppance.
Yeah, I guess their comeuppance.
Yeah.
He got his comeuppance real good.
And
That's
like
wild.
the type of infection that he had apparently was like bad, and it spread fast.
Ew.
But like it's a dead body. Yeah.
Yeah.
Necrosis.
Ugh. Ugh. All right. Well, enough with that.
I hope you guys had such a great time listening to all the dead people.
Hope you learned a thing. Learned a
two.
thing or two. Yeah.
Hope we didn't give you any fears.
I do, but it's fine. We're fine. But I think that at the end of the day, we, like I said earlier, learn from history, so hopefully it doesn't get repeated too much. So
yeah, don't hold your bladder, don't drink too much carrot juice, don't sever someone's head and then hang it on your horse's saddle, especially if they have buck teeth.
Yep, don't.
That's such a bizarre statement.
Straight out buck teeth. Don't grow a long beard unless you are careful always and are good under pressure.
Don't be bald in a field or a turtle might fall on your head.
Wear your cap or your hard hat. You gotta protect yourself. This was a good episode. I really liked this episode.
Yeah.
And we hope that you did too. And we did a lot of talking, so we're going to do a water break. And feel free to join. Have you drank your water this week? How's your intake been?
Me or them?
Them and you.
Not as good as it should be, but I'm doing better than I have been. And that's
there
what
you
counts.
go. I have 2 jars.
Nice.
So. We're going to be super hydrated over here. So, other than that, do something nice for yourself. I've been giving myself 20 minutes every single morning to sit on the porch, breathe in fresh air, like almost as soon as I wake up. It's been very therapeutic, very nice. 10 out of 10, would recommend you try to do if you can.
I have been getting more pug cuddles because I started a new job like 2 months ago, and I'm like gone all the time. So I'm making specific time to cuddle with my pug and give him undivided attention because I miss him.
Exactly. But other than that, we will see you guys next week. Goodbye.
I don't remember what you did.
I don't know what I did.
Okay, let's try. Goodbye.
I think that was pretty close.
I think that's what you did. I don't remember.
Bye, guys.
I did it. Bye.
You did that.